Hare Krishna, everyone. From Ladini, we welcome you all for the talk show on women and spirituality on this occasion of International Women's Day. Today, we are trying to get a few insights about contemporary burning issues of women. We have with us our special guest speaker, Her Grace Ujjwala Radhe Mataji. Thank you, Mataji, for being here with us. Let me give you all a brief introduction about Ujjwala Radhe Mataji.
Let
Mataji comes from a yeah, yes, Mataji. Mataji comes from a traditional South Indian family in Andhra Pradesh, and having joined in Hare Krishna movement in year 2005 during her internship at Usmania Medical College and Dental Hospital, Hyderabad. Ever since then, she has always been active in youth preaching, conducting systematic courses and training for youth girls across India. She is an author, speaker, life coach, and a psychologist. She has done research on mantra meditation at AIMS Rishikesh and currently a PhD scholar in Indian knowledge systems and mental health applications at IIT Mandi. She brings in her variegated academic experience into teaching the Shastras to make the scriptures relevant to the current generation. She has also authored the book The Woman Who Rebuilt, The Authentic Tale of Draupadi. Mataji and her husband Sudama Gopal Prabhuji heads also the school named Mudgala Rishikulam. We are very happy to have you here, Mataji. Thank you again. Let us begin the session, Mataji. The first question goes like to dive into the main topic of women empowerment. As we know, women of today are striving to get freedom and empowerment, in the name of which there is more feminism. What, according to you, is real women empowerment?
Yes. So thank you, Sindhuja, for inviting me on this show. So I wish you and all the viewers a very happy Women's Day. And yeah, this particular tradition of celebrating Women's Day on the 8th of March, it began on more than a decade ago in the year 1900. That's where the history began, where a group of women came to fight for their rights. So, talking about the key words that you have raised, one is about freedom and what is empowerment in the current context. So, let us dwell on these keywords. Freedom. So, what does exactly freedom mean? Yeah, freedom is the need of either a man or a woman. But why is it more clearly stated in bold letters with sometimes a placard showing we need freedom and we have to fight for it? Why is that? It is because there was a point of time, and many a times in history, repeatedly, that there is some kind of a violence to that spirit of freedom of a woman. So that's the reason it is a reactionary to fight for one's freedom. Yeah, and justice. So, although this desire and the right to freedom is invested within every human being, be it a male or a female, for women, this has to be exercised with a bit of caution as well. Yeah. So, we will look at both extremes. So, on one side, this desire for freedom can be potentially exploited by manipulative people around. So we see this in many scenarios in the modern day where women wanting to be free, they're expressing that desire for freedom in maybe a little outrageous way, wherein it is bringing in a lot of difficulties to their own self. Yeah. So I will give you an example of how this desire for freedom is exploited by people around. So there is something called a slogan called torches of freedom. Yeah, what is this torches of freedom? So it so happened is also about a century ago. There was a cigarette manufacturing company, yeah, wherein they were operating at a time where uh, cigarette smoking is considered a taboo for women. It was also a period when women smoked in front of their kids. They were jailed for a few years. This is in the Western world I'm talking about. Yeah. So it was at that time the cigarette manufacturing companies felt, we have a gold mine of customers, yeah, which is 50% of the population is women, and they're not taking to smoking. So we are bereft of so much of market. So it was a marketing strategy to inspire women to smoke. So they linked it to freedom because that's the need of a woman. Women always want to be free. They want to be called, you know, uh, empowered or free spirited, and they have freedom. So they exploited that particular desire and attached to this smoking. And they ran a parade um, in the streets of New York at the time of Easter, where many women, smoking long cigarettes, walked calling out for freedom. So that is, they attached cigarette smoking to freedom. So this was a marketing strategy. Yeah, it has nothing to do with women's freedom. But for people who are the onlookers, it appeared, especially some gullible women, it looked like, okay, if I'm smoking, that means I am projecting myself to be a empowered woman. So this is where what I'm talking about is one should exercise caution about freedom. See, for example, children want to be free and they want to play around, but a responsible freedom will give as much freedom to the child as it can be handled safely by the child. So are women. Women are by nature very emotional, and that is why there's so many recommendations in scriptures and Manusmriti about giving appropriate amount of freedom for women, because they're very as I said, they're very emotional in nature, and the emotions have to be protected, and the emotions have to be given a safe space for expression. So when that is given, women really feel empowered. Yeah. So this is the meaning of freedom. Freedom is when one is able to express oneself, yeah, one's talents, one's nature, one's inherent genius, yeah, one's own true, uh, you know, gifts in a non-exploitative environment. I think that's the freedom any person is seeking. Because that freedom brings fulfillment. Yeah. So here's to understand, take a moment and understand what is the meaning of freedom. Yeah. The other point that we're talking about is empowerment. What is empowerment? What is the word power? So the power invested in every living entity, is technically called one's own swadharma. The Gita speaks about this. Yeah. So this is the true empowerment is when an individual expresses one's swadharma. So women have their own swadharma, which is according to their psychophysical nature that one is made up of. Yeah, when one is able to express one's swadharma fearlessly, without the fear of being judged by people. Yeah. So, for example, people take up careers. People take up jobs because of some kind of a subtle pressure from society. Yeah. A girl takes up a particular career because it's the most popular thing. And, maybe perhaps you get a good husband. No, career has to be taken up as per one's psychophysical nature, one's inclination, one's interest. That is empowerment. Yeah. A career has to be chosen, or a job has to be chosen as per one's interest, one's own personal inclination, not to impress somebody or the world around. So when a woman gains this awareness, yeah, of one's true self-worth and expresses one's inner talents and genius in constructive ways that will give satisfaction to the self and that will benefit the society at large, that's true empowerment. Yes, this empowerment is potentially to be given as a part of education. And if that's been missed out, maybe some organizations have to take up this responsibility of educating what is true empowerment and not misguide. So I hope that sheds some light on what is freedom and what is empowerment.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much. That was a very detailed explanation with Shastric reference. Thank you, Mataji.
And
Mataji, considering that the teenage girls nowadays have been into many mental traumas, like we wish to ask a few questions specifically about the teenage issues of girls.
mm,
And so it's like students or girls of today at a very young age are facing relationship issues. We hear every 1 in 10 girls saying the trauma of breakups or depression. What could be the reason for this? How to deal with this?
very good that you brought up this question, Sindhuja. And the very fact that you brought out this question is very important because many girls are suffering without voicing out what you're just speaking about. Yeah, it is just uh, because of out of fear of being judged or not having the proper person to connect to. So much of this trauma is internalized by many girls, and so many times it is ending up in committing suicides. Yeah. Unfortunately, in South India, the suicide rate is maximum amongst adolescent girls. It's a very alarming statistic. So your question is about why is that uh, relationships are heading towards so many breakups. So it's because you should know as the younger generation why there is no stability in relationships. So, uh, you know, during the period of my own grandparents and my parents, we've hardly heard of anything called a breakup or a divorce. Yeah, we are married to a particular person and they live their life. Of course, there were fights, there were bickerings, and there were storms, but nonetheless, nobody had this idea of, once you're married under the system of the Vivaha Samskara, the bond is, it's a sacred bonding and it has to last all life. Yeah. But yes, today the times and situations are quite different. And your question about why are many relationships ending up in breakups? If you see, let's get into the basic human nature. The levels of tolerance in young students there is remarkably decreasing. In the recent past, we have heard about so many suicides by the 11th grade students, I guess, 11th or 10th grade, because uh, the results that were out, they were misprinted or there was some miscalculation. Yeah. And the results showed that the students have failed in their final exam. So that resulted in massive deaths, yeah, massive number of suicides that happened in Telangana. Yeah, this is maybe just 5 years ago that happened. So why is it that if your examination result is not good, one should end one's life? It's just a matter of an year, matter of an exam. Why is a person not able to accept failure? Yeah, it shows a steep decline in the levels of one's resilience and tolerance. So you can understand that this nature of inability or becoming too fragile, too delicate to handle uh, anything that's against one's own expectation is making people to go in and out of relationships. Yeah. So a relationship once committed is commitment for lifetime. That's ideal relationship. I'm talking about the relationship of marriage. So, but if a person is going in and out and is going through many breakups, that points to a person's inability to handle a relationship maturely. Yeah. These days, one more uh, 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 element is inability to handle predictability. Okay, you would start a relationship, it goes on. In the initial days, it's very flowery, very beautiful, because everything that happens is new, excitement, and wow. Yeah, every day something new. So after some days, maybe a few months or a year, there comes a period of monotony. So, and there are so many fights, so many misunderstandings. So, all the beautiful gold coating is gone and the false egos come face to face. So that's something, you need something called a sacred wedding bond to empower you to handle it. Also, not just the two of you, you require two families to help you do that. So oftentimes, if you're taking up the relationship on your own strength, it's difficult to go through these difficult situation, times, based on your own strength. So that's when also the family strength and support should come into picture and help the people sail through. But that's not what's happening. You're taking up relationships on your own strength, and when you're unable to handle it, it breaks down. So the many factors when we are deviating away from the Vedic standard, the more we're getting into complexities. So Vedic standards are not some kind of entrapments, or they're not some kind of boundaries, or something that is trying to limit you or bind you. So the Vedic standards are an easy way of life. So when we follow Vedic standards, it eases our material situation, so that we can dedicate our time and energy into accessing our spiritual goals. So to the degree we deviate from that, to that degree we get into complexities. So this is a spiritual understanding to your question. I hope that answers.
Yes, Mataji. Yes, thank you so much. Uh, while there is this failure of relationship issues, there are some people who are in relationships which are quite not acceptable, like live-in relationships and considering dating apps and meeting strangers and being in relationships. Please, tell your view on this and please enlighten.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so this is a modern version of try, test and try. Yeah, trial and error. Yeah, that is live-in relationships and the dating apps. Yeah, so this is the true picture of what colleges look like these days. So, what was your question, Sindhuja?
Yes, Mataji. For the people who decide to live in relationships or date strangers and consider it right, for now they are happy. So
Hmm.
what are the repercussions of that? Like,
Yeah, see, your question itself has the answer. So you're saying that they consider now they're happy. Yes, that's true. Currently, they're going through a thrill. But what are the repercussions? Yeah, so it's not just karmic repercussions that you're heading into. You're also heading into very complex psychological issues that will badly affect your future. See, on one side, we do understand that we are in an atmosphere where we have not seen many good examples of, you know, families who are very happy. That's one of the reason why people are scared to commit into a relationship. So why do people get into live-in relationships in the first point? People get into live-in relationships. On one side, it is because they have a need of the body and mind, yes, and they want to address it because it's a basic human need, a biological need, an emotional need, a psychological need. Yes, it's very natural to have that need for a partner. On one side, the need is there. On the other side is an insecurity that is built around seeing wrong examples in life, be it in their own family. Especially when it happens in their own family, these insecurities are very, very strong. Yeah, or in the social media. especially social media where stars, whatever exam, yadyad achariti sreshta. Yeah, the movie stars and celebrities have become the sreshtas of the society, unfortunately, and people tend to follow them blindly. There's a tendency to do that. So, because of these insecurities born out of seeing wrong examples, because of following wrong celebrities, or because of developing bad samskaras in wrong association. Yeah, this is why people choose such forms of living which are contrary to the traditional setup. Yeah, why do people want to break out of the traditional setup? Because they're seeing that people who are following that are not happy. Yes, so that's why the live-in relationships are the immediate choice. Yeah, because number one, it is addressing my need, my basic needs. I don't have to run around for partners. I have a desire to be with my partner day in and day out. So all these things are met with by a live-in relationship. Okay, at this present moment, my need is met with. I'm happy. The other person is happy. Everything is going fine. But let's speak about what are the repercussions of this kind of relationships in future. Yeah. So a live-in relationship is I might be in this or I might be out of it. So both the partners are going through this kind of insecurity with each other. It's not a confirmed relationship. Yes. So if that progresses and it becomes a happy marriage, all right. But if it doesn't, there is a tendency again to get into multiple relationships. And a person who gets into multiple relationships, even after marriage, such a person cannot survive in one single relationship because the samskara of changing partners has already formed. And such people have severe psychological traumas. I mean, as a psychologist, I do get in touch with some people who have these issues of having very unstable relationships. So it's a dangerous path, uh, and at least one should be aware of the dangers, that are waiting ahead of them. Yeah. So the danger number one is about the serious psychological complications that are about to come in the future. Secondly, what example are we setting to the society? Yeah. And thirdly, what are the karmic reactions that I'm accruing for myself? Yes, there are severe karmic implications of such relationships, which are without the sanction. See, vivaha is a samskara. Samskara is a purificatory process. So purificatory process means one takes responsibility. It's not just about enjoyment. There are four purusharthas. There is dharma, there is artha, there is kama, and there is moksha. So these days people do not want to do their dharma. And they do, I mean, and the artha, that is, they are only interested in artha, that is economic development, and kama, fulfilling their own desires of lust or whatever. So they're deleting dharma and moksha from the equation totally. As a result, one does not feel fulfilled in that very relationship that you're hankering for. As a result of lack of fulfillment, that relationship will eventually break down, especially having no support from the system of family, the system of society. Yes, and then so we're paying a huge price ourselves. There is so much of trauma that is awaiting a person, a psychological trauma that is waiting a person. Oftentimes, that trauma takes a lot of effort, to clear past. And apart from that, what's awaiting is also some karmic reactions. Yeah, so it's in many ways, it's up. An intelligent person makes a wise decision after making calculations, not just getting caught up in the current drive or current need, but also assesses risks of the future and then takes a wise step, makes a wise decision. So yes, the live-in relationships and the dating apps are becoming very, very common these days, and so are the increasing number of clients to the psychologists, because they're so broken. And they're just going through such traumas that they just simply cannot handle it themselves. And they're so confused. Lack of a goal in life, lack of excitement, lack of happiness, lack of fulfillment, lack of purpose. These are all the maladies of the modern day youth. Yeah. So this is because there is no guiding light called the Shastra in one's life. So if one can subscribe to that, I'm sure that will help many people in general. Yes. So this is my uh, opinion and dimension of thought on these kind of relationships, both as a spiritual practitioner and more importantly as a psychologist, because I get to see what is the kind of trauma that's accumulated in a person who's in and out of such relationships. Now it's very difficult to dissolve it. It takes so much of life energy to mitigate it, and oftentimes it's very there's a lot of relapse that happens. So all the life's energy is getting into, getting over these complications. Then where is your vital energy left to embark upon the life's purpose? Unfortunately, it's lost. So it's up to us. The choices, Krishna never, the God never interferes with one's free will. It's up to us to choose our path. But when we make a decision, make a calculated and wise decision. I hope that answers you, Sindhuja.
Yes, Mataji. Yeah, in continuation to this, like the girls of today who are even quite educated and doing good in jobs and are independent financially, but the other extreme of it is that they're not willing to marry or marry very late, like after 30s, because they're scared of losing the independence and freedom that they have now. Like, what is the right understanding of a happy marriage? Like, is this thought process of independence right?
Yes. That's a good question, a thoughtful question, Sindhuja. And yes, you have really spoken what's happening in the minds of the current generation. Because if you see the average age of marriage for girls, it's just going higher and higher and higher. Yeah. So one of even the advice given by parents to their children, especially daughters, is enjoy now, because what's awaiting you is just all responsibilities. Yeah, endless responsibilities. So have fun now, anyways. So here's where we need to understand what is the root of that fear. What is the root of that fear? Fear of losing my independence. Yes. Where is this fear coming from? Is this fear a genuine fear, or is it just my mental speculation? Is there any substance and truth to my fear, or is it just my imagination? So one needs to, dig down deep and address that fear first. So sometimes the fear can be baseless, and the fear can be just simply born out of some kind of impressions. And sometimes the projection is maybe every man is like this. And that's not the case. Yes. And there are ways to address that fear. And let's say if that fear is addressed, let's say that fear is coming from seeing examples where women, after being married, they don't have any financial independence. They are sucked into responsibilities. They're ill-treated by the in-laws, and they are, getting bound up in a family situation where they don't have time or space for themselves. They're so choked up. And so this is going to be uh, the scenario, after wedding for everybody. This is a kind of a speculation, a speculative thought, a fear. So, and there are so many what ifs that make you get more entrapped in this fear. Yeah, what if this happens? What if this guy turns out to be like this? What if I get into a family which is like this? What if, what if, what if? So many fears attached. So instead of operating under that fear and postponing marriage endlessly, so such a postponement actually has a lot of negative repercussions. Yeah. The first being a woman's fertility drops down after the age of 30. And a woman who doesn't go through, healthy motherhood, that's another kind of trauma. That's more difficult to face. Yeah, because the body is made for, nourishing the family, having a loving family environment, to take care of kids, to help them grow into beautiful individuals, apart from, of course, expressing their own innate abilities in constructive ways. This is what gives fulfillment to the women. Yeah. So while understanding that such a postponement will actually uh, put me at risk for, at other important milestones of life, one have to reassess one's fears in a safe environment with people whom they trust, and identify if my fears are genuine, if they're meaningful. And these fears can especially be addressed by finding the right partner with whom one can discuss. See, we should also be aware of what's happening around us. In the modern day, also, there are examples of many IPS women and IES women who were highly supported by their husbands and who have cleared their exams and became the IAS and IPS women after marriage. Yeah, that means because of the support from their husbands, they have actually completed their studies. Before marriage, they could not, because they did not receive much support from their families. But after marriage, they actually, could reach a higher level of education because of the support from their husbands and family members. Such examples are there. Why not we look at those examples and take inspiration? So we need to understand, what is my fear? My fear is that I will lose independence for travel. Will I lose independence to interact with my friends? Or will I lose independence because somebody will be envious of my career and not let me grow in my professional life? Is this my fear? Is it my fear that my aspirations for higher educations will be curbed? So one needs to know and identify what these fears are. And these days, I'm sure every parent is mature enough to have a pre-wedding meet between the boy and girl. And this is when the girl should openly express that these are my expectations, that I be given my space. If you're a person who needs space to work, you need to express that very clearly. I need my space, my workstation at home, and I want to continue my education, or I have these goals in my career, and I need support for that. And see, I have whatever, these are some emotional issues I have. I'm vulnerable in such situations. I feel uncomfortable when I'm controlled, or whatever are your fears. They have to be openly expressed and discussed with this potential partner. It needs to be sorted out and taken, and a step forward should be taken by the consent of both the boy and girl. And also, while being expressive about one's own fears, one should also be cultivate something called ability to be flexible and have an adjusting mentality. Yeah, while we explain our expectations to the other person, we should also have a little bit of flexibility from our end. We should know the areas where we can compromise and the areas where we cannot compromise. These also should be very clear for us. So while talking to the opposite parties, the girl should know that yes, uh, maybe staying together, yes, I can compromise, I can stay together with the family. I'm flexible about that. Tick mark. So I need to be clear about it. Or for some people, mean it's a total no, I cannot. Then you have to be clear about that. So these things, there are some things I cannot compromise about. There are some things I can compromise. I can be flexible. So be ready with these sound arguments and sound propositions from your side. You have a lot of clarity, and you enter into the relationship. When you enter into the relationship with this kind of a clarity, there's very less space for disagreements and arguments and fights. Yeah. So that's where I would suggest, Sindhuja, that we have to understand the root of that fear, where it is coming from, and let us also be open and aware to understand positive examples from our contemporary situations. Yeah, and also from our shastras. Our Indian community is coming from. There are examples like Sati Savitri, where her father has given her freedom to go around the world and search for a suitable groom. He sent a massive army along with her, trusting her ability to choose, to go and choose her own husband. Yeah, this is the trust the father had on the daughter. Yeah, and let's see the trust Shakuntala's father, Kanva Maharshi, had. Even if when she dated and she had a Gandharva wedding with Dushyanta, yeah, and she was even carrying, she was pregnant, but still her father respected her, judgment. He respected her decision. And at the right time, he sent her to the husband's place. So this is the India we are living. This is the Vedic tradition we grew up in. Very powerful examples. There is also the Swayamvara, where women are given the right to choose. So much of you know uh, faith is put on the girl's choice after having trained her appropriately. So this is where the one should understand that one's fears can be oftentimes baseless because of always maybe dwelling on the wrong. The nature of the mind is it dwells on the negativities only. It takes effort to pull the mind out of the negatives and focus on the positive examples. So that effort has to be taken. Yeah. While there is negative examples, there are also positive examples. And I need to know what I want in life, what is important to me. And I've been given the ability to choose, to speak out, to discuss, and I should use the trump card wisely. Then with consciously, I will get into a relationship. And after getting into the relationship, I take responsibility, knowing that there are advantages, there are disadvantages, and I'm prepared. So nothing comes like a wave that hits. So with this, I'm sure there need not be a fear of getting into relationship early. I mean, and there should not be endless delay of marriage based on these fears. Yeah, and sometimes they can be baseless. Yeah, so I think that's how we can deal with this. Hope that
Yes,
helps.
sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for the inspiring examples of the women in our history who were given the trust and hope. So, what do the girls of today like? What is the right way, and what are the qualities one should look while choosing a husband for marriage?
Hey, what are the qualities one should look for? This is a very individualistic question. It differs from person to person. So before looking for the qualities in the would-be partner, it's important to know oneself. Yeah, there's so many TED Talks these days of very eloquent speakers. The most important person you need to get married to is your own self. Yeah, there's a famous TED Talk based on this. Yes, that is, be aware of your own strengths and weaknesses. What are your needs and demands? And this kind of a self-awareness creates empathy. Yeah. So these are all some good life skills that one needs to develop even before entering marriage. That's why there's something called a premarital training. In fact, this has to be essentially part of education, but if it's available elsewhere, one should take it up. Yeah. So what should one look for in a partner? As I said, it's individualistic. Every woman uh, looks for something specific, but there are some general things that we need to look for. So basically, it is compatibility. This compatibility between boy and girl is most of the times it is seen at the level of horoscope. It is because actually astrology can speak a lot. It's an occult science, but it's very, very amazing what astrology can project, about one's nature. You should visit a good astrologer, qualified astrologer, not a person who would who's superficial about it. Actually, good astrologers can give very good advice about matchmaking, about uh, how much their natures can be aligned, or temperaments are aligned, what is the projection of their future, what is their there are some ashtakutas, there are some 8 aspects of kundali matching. So each of this actually gives a very good projection of how this bond actually works. So that's one thing. And the second thing is, even before waiting for the right person, one more important quality that the girl should have is preserve your heart for the right person first. Yeah. When we preserve our heart for the right person and pray to the Lord. Yeah. Earlier, this has been the tradition in our Vedic society that a girl is always trained to pray to the gods to bless her with a good husband. Yeah, this is a very good samskara, important samskara, because a life partner is somebody whom you live with all your life, a very, very important person. And depending on a higher power, that is the Lord Himself, to send the right person is a very, very, very wonderful way of approaching this issue. We see in our scriptures, Kardama Muni, when he was instructed by Brahma, Lord Brahma, to get married and to procreate. Kardama Muni is like the initial, in the initial phase of Brahma's creation. This world was not yet populated. So Lord Brahma, instructed Kardama Muni, go ahead, procreate, and expand the generations. So the first thing Kardama Muni did was he did not get into a dating app, or nor did he consult a marriage bureau for this. He sat in meditation. Yeah. And in that meditation, he had the darshan of the Supreme Lord. And, he expressed his devotion to the Lord. He expressed his desire to surrender to his lotus feet. He glorified the Supreme Lord, and he expressed his desire that although it is a material desire, it is my desire to marry a suitable girl. So that's when the Lord actually tells Kardama Muni that, yes, I understand your desire. Just after 2 days, Devahuti, the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu, is going to come, and she is the right person for you. So in this way, approaching a divine power, for help to choose the right partner is, of course, a very valid samskara that is prominent in the Vedic culture. Even in South India, there is Varalakshmi Vratam. There are some vratas or pujas that, and I think in the north it is something else. There is some particular vrat that unmarried girls keep. Yeah, praying for a good husband in life. So these are good samskaras. At least that aspiration should be there, that I need a good husband, a life partner with whom I advance in my dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and also the higher purushartha of spirituality. Such a desire at least should be there in the heart of a girl. And she should pray for such a person to come in one's life. Yes. And coming to the practical ways of looking out for the right life partner, what you should look at is the compatibility at 4 levels: at the physical level, at the emotional level, intellectual level, and the spiritual level. It is the Vedas suggest that the boy should be superior to the girl in all these parameters, all these criteria. Then the match is a good match. Yeah. So the physical level, am I feeling compatible with this person? As is it, does it, the physical appearance attract my heart? This is important. This is not a detail, it is important. Yeah. And is there emotional compatibility? Yeah. Is this person sensitive? Does he understand me, etc.? The intellectual level, these days the education, etc., also speaks about educational background, speaks about one's IQ. Yeah, and spiritually, how advanced is that person? Is he able to guide me, or is he the kind of a person that I can bank upon, that can shelter me, that can be a good friend of mine? Many parameters to identify. Yeah. So first is to depend on the higher powers and prepare ourselves, understanding our own needs. When we are understanding our own needs, we get a lot of clarity about what we want in life. It's an individual exercise one has to go through, because no two people will have the same inner software. And so, I cannot say that these are the things that you need to look for. When you're more and more aware of your own needs, your own temperaments, your own sensitivities, your own vulnerabilities, okay, the more you would understand what you need, what you can expect. Yeah. And also one should also be having a sufficient element of ability to adjust and compromise and be resilient in tough situations. Yeah. So these are some of the things that came to my mind when you spoke about what to look for in a man. So there are, I mean, if you ask me for a list, of course, there's so many lists. There should be integrity. The person should be honest. The person should not control. You know, these are some Google answers. You search on a Google, you'll find all these answers. But what I'm talking about is the foundation, how much we need to work on our own selves. And when we become more aware of our own internal needs and what I spoke about, our vulnerabilities, we have more clarity about whom to accept. And we also create, uh, those energies within ourselves which attract the right person into our life. Yeah. So this is how to go about it. Okay. Yes.
Yes, Mataji, thank you so
Hope that
much.
helps. Yeah.
This self-awareness indeed is very powerful, but not easy to acquire. That's why there are girls who recognize their mistakes in the past and all, want to overcome, but are not strong enough, and the past is haunting them. How can they develop the positive mindset and come out of the bad past and be a strong person? Yes.
Yeah. It's a very important question. It is not very easy to come out of past traumas. In fact, actually, I am coming up with a a professional, let's say, an intensive transformative coaching on these three elements of how to handle the past. I mean, I cannot just answer in 5 minutes. It's a 3 weekend sessions, 3 weekend transformative seminar about how to heal your mind. Yeah. The section 1 is about how to deal with your past. Section 2 is about how to bring out the best of yourself in by living in the present. And session 3 is about how to plan for a golden future. Yeah. Oftentimes, we set our goals out of desperation and not out of inspiration. We just look around and we get uh, insecure about people's achievements, and that's how we form goals. Yeah, that's goals formed out of desperation. But there are goals that are formed out of genuine inspiration that comes from the heart. So this is entirely, it's like a therapy. It's like a process to heal your mind, how to rewrite your life's narrative. Oftentimes, many people look back at the past with regret. we look back at the past thinking that if I would have fixed that, if I would not have done that, today I wouldn't have been this. Or that day, if the situation would have been different, or if that person would have been a better person, I wouldn't have been like this. Oftentimes it's the regrets of the past that keep haunting us. So it takes a very guided journey into the past, fixing those elements of pain and regret, addressing them, and coming out from them positively. It's a therapeutic healing process. So, uh, so this is something I cannot just disclose in maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but this is in fact, a coaching that I'm coming up with, a transformative coaching of how to deal with the past, how to get the best out of yourself in the present, and how to systematically plan for a successful future. So this is a journey, a very important life's journey. So as of now, a few tips is separate your thought from thinking. Yeah, there are so many thought experiments you can conduct and release yourself from that past trauma. Yeah. So maybe it can be done one-on-one. I can address that in that way.
Sure, Mataji. We will be very happy to, all of us will be very happy to take the course and understand ourselves better. And just to
Well,
summarize, we can take one last question.
yeah, sure.
And sure, yes, Mataji. So, as considering that most of the women are working or students and occupied now, can you please suggest some basic practices which are like self-help, spiritually, mentally, whatever, for beginners, so that the daily practices slowly help them evolve and give them a positive mindset?
Yes. So spirituality for women is a very, very important aspect. It will help them tremendously. Like, for example, we have just discussed that the most important problem of having sustainable relationships these days is commitment. One is not able to commit, right? The same thing reflects in sadhana also. A person cannot be committed to a fixed number of rounds, or a fixed time for sadhana on a daily basis. And every day you're chanting, and let's say most of us are chanting the japa. In the initial stages, it's repetitive, it's predictable, it could be boring, so people give up. Yeah, this is the same thing that happens in relationships also. So yeah, this is just a observation. But what are some tips is, when we cultivate a good mindset that is in sattva guna. Sattva guna is full of good qualities of resilience, of tolerance, of making right decisions, wise choices, using your intelligence appropriately. Yeah, and this sattva guna is very much fostered by cultivating spirituality. So in short, when we utilize our morning, it's not something that comes crashing through your door. Yeah, just like health is not something that you can just go and buy outside. Yes, health is a cultivation on a day-to-day basis. It's choice that you make during for every meal. Yeah, for breakfast, what choice you make, lunch, what choice you make, for dinner, what choice you make determines your health. Yeah, and health is it's an outcome of many factors. What choices you make, especially what choices you make on a day-to-day basis. Yes. So similarly, so spirituality, as when it is cultivated um, on a day-to-day basis, it makes a person internally very strong, very, very strong. It gives the courage to face any, life is unpredictable. Anytime, there are so many backlashes and most of the times what you don't expect only happens. So it gives that internal strength, gives you the goal, first of all, what is worth chasing after, what is worth accomplishing. It gives a self-awareness of who I am. I'm not this merely this body. This just body is a manifestation or precipitated because of my mind. And this mind is not, that's it. Behind that is an intelligence that can govern the mind. And beyond that is me, myself, the soul, the Jivatma, who is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, Paramatma, Lord Krishna. So this understanding, not just understanding, by a frequent absorption in this consciousness, can really empower a person so much. Yeah, it brings a lot of auspiciousness into one's life. Yeah, so much of karma is eliminated by the practices of bhakti. So much of bad karma. Yeah. And so much of positive vibrations are, are attracted from the universe through the practice of spirituality. It's an unlimited wealth to dig into. And that's all inside within one's own self. So especially, women, what do they hanker for? What they are just searching for love, true love, genuine love. And in their search for this love, so many times they fall prey to lust. Yeah. And so much of media and propaganda and movie songs, Hollywood, Bollywood, all these, they inspire you to, go in certain directions and search in some places. I mean, but spirituality is truth about who you are, where you find what you're searching for. Yes. And truth is always beautiful. And truth is unending. And truth is satiating to the heart. It is satisfying. So when we connect to that truth within ourselves, we also connect to that love that we are searching for. Love that is unconditional, that is eternal, that is timeless. Yes. And when that is experienced, it gives so much of, we are in a position of giving rather than receiving. Oftentimes, relationships, why they don't work is because we always wait for some person to come and complete us, to come and give me what I am lacking. Yes, but what I'm lacking can be given by Krishna only. Yes, what did he say? Yoga kshemam pahamyaham. Yeah. So when we develop that relationship with the Supreme Lord, which is the hankering or the longing of the soul for time immemorial. In this life we got the body of a woman. In previous life we don't know what kind of body we had, and next life we might have the body of a man. So all our Women's Day celebration, I don't think we'll be doing it after 100 years from now. Yeah. So we are in such a temporary framework. You see, when we're operating in such a temporary framework. So go behind that framework and get in touch with the eternal. It's so blissful. It's so beautiful. Yeah, that's the place where you find true security. And when you are so happy and blissful, you can give that happiness to your people, to your family, to your partner, to your children. They look up to you. They love you so much. Yes. So when we become instruments of love of the Supreme Lord, then people love us. Yeah. So in this, when we understand that the beauty of spirituality, then we are in the association of those advanced devotees, those who are seriously practicing. One should put aside a specific time in a day for following a particular sadhana, which expresses our commitment for our spiritual life. Yeah, stay in association. That's most important, and read books that inspire us. What you see behind in my rack, some of them. I have a bigger rack inside. So that's my input. What I'm, if I love myself, I give good feed. See, oftentimes there are people who are depressed they opt a lot for junk food. People who are happy, they love to have healthy food, that is nutritious. So similarly, when I'm in a happy state of mind, I give myself, if I love myself, I give myself good inputs. That is wisdom literature. And then, I also spend some time with the discipline in sadhana to express my commitment to my spiritual life. Yeah. And I live a very balanced life in harmony with my own needs. And according to the prescriptions given by Lord, we have the Bhagavad Gita, which is a user manual for life. Everything that is needed to lead this life successfully, to bring out the best in us, is given in the Gita. So let us study that, with sincerity and with a sense of surrender, with a sense of urgency. And let us align our life in that way. And it is not some kind of a super fantastic idea to attain perfection. It is right there. It's just about the choice we make today, every day, and every minute. So I hope that answers that question. So how do we cultivate spirituality? By simply making it our priority. Yes, just like how you have so beautifully made spirituality a priority in your life, despite what are the hectic schedules when you're in IITs, and I'm sure from BTech you're reading Gita and you're chanting your 16 rounds. So in fact, you should be answering this question, not me. Yes. So how you have successfully managed your sadhana while going through your BTech in a very competent institution like in the IITs, where the schedules are very, very demanding, and also have completed your MTech along with, I think you're also a volleyball player.
Yes.
Yes, see, that's exciting. See, also you're also good in sports, and you're also a classical dancer. Yes, and that's amazing how you have yourself evolved as a person. By isn't it, didn't spirituality, you should tell me, how did spirituality help you in becoming that wholesome person? Yes.
But yeah, even I can say surely that I'm better a student, better a player when I started spirituality. Because, like you said, it resonates with me well that when the foundation is strong, whatever comes on that will automatically be strong. Initially, like sports used to be a relaxation from studies, but now I love studies as much as sports because you integrated that everything is dharma, everything is duty, and you have to do it with in the mentality of service. Not that I'm actually doing it, but the trial itself is giving a lot of hope that it indeed is the solution for everything. So I think it's all in all.
Wonderful. Yes, that's the beauty of spirituality. It brings in that inherent zeal for excellence through every activity that you do. And when we are bringing together these two duties of Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma. The Swadharma is your duty as a student, and Sanatan Dharma, your duty towards Krishna. When you're initially, it's difficult to harmonize these two. But when you're doing two of them with diligence, with enthusiasm, with regularity, with sincerity, there will come a time when you actually realize that, the interconnectedness between these two. And you reach the stage of an Atma Rama, who takes pleasure in the self, and who's a sthita prajna, undisturbed by external situation, and you develop divine qualities. What more? Yes. With that is what's the auspiciousness that we attract in life. Yes, we can expect all auspiciousness. So be assured. It's very important to be assured. Yeah, Krishna says, Ma Shuchaha, Ma Shucha, do not fear. And he also says, all these taglines in the Gita are very important. At some places, Krishna says, Ma Shuchaha, do not fear. Uh, then Asamshayam, Krishna says, do not doubt. So one should have that faith, yes, that we're all going there. We are going to our destination. And we should just persevere with faith, determination. And the day is coming soon where Krishna gives what I'm looking for. Asha Bandha. Having the deep faith is also one of the feature of a devotee. Yes. Okay. Any other questions? I think it's 1 hour.
Yes, Mataji, we can wrap this up. Thank you for the insightful session, Mataji. And for me, especially the, self-awareness resonates a lot that I need to still, it has already helped a lot and we have to still look into ourselves like with guidance and yes, Mataji. And I'm sure many of them would have felt their questions answered and maybe willing to ask more. And so we'll surely be want to be connecting to you in future with your beautiful courses and yeah, get the benefit out of it, Mataji. Thank you so much. Thank you
Should
so
we
much,
take,
everyone, for attending.
yeah. So should we take one question from the audience? If anybody has,
Yes, Mataji.
before we wind up, because they've all been there for the last 1 hour.
Yes, Mataji. Anyone has any question, please go ahead.
Hello, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. I just now hear that you are saying that delaying marriage is not good. But what I'm thinking is like even we have responsibility from parents, like taking care of them. So when we settle, we are planning to get married. Is that wrong? Wrong thing?
So Saraswati, it depends on the situation. Like you're saying that you have the responsibility to take care of your parents. So is it that there is nobody else, or is it that the parents are very much in need of your help that they can't do without you? So it's a personal question. So maybe this is not the forum to answer, but yes, it's a general principle that getting married early is the right thing to do, because the body and mind have a need of a partner, and such a need has to be addressed in a dharmic way. And yes, but in special situations and special considerations, if there is a higher duty that is calling, and that is uh, authenticated by certain superiors, that yes, this is what you need to do, then certainly, the preference should be given to that higher duty. Yeah. So like Maharaj, in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is Priyavrat. Maharaj Priyavrat, he was so ecstatically in trance, in his meditation of God, who's renounced from the entire world. He was in his ecstasy of his connection to God. But Lord Brahma came and instructed him, "Oh Priyavrat, it is now your duty to rule the kingdom as a king, get married and produce progeny." Can you imagine? You go and tell a renounced person who is in his own ecstasy of love of God to do something contrary to what one is inclined to do. So Maharaj Priyavrat actually did that because it came as an instruction from an authority. So when we in our life, whenever we are confused about our duty, there are 3 things that we need to take shelter of: Vipra, Dharma, and Achyuta. Vipra, the consultation from an authority who is learned, who can exactly guide us in what our dharma is. That is Vipra. Then Dharma, understanding what our dharma. These are normal dharma shastras are enough to understand what our dharma is as the general principles. Yeah. So we need to approach a Vipra for specific applications. Dharma is what is generally understood by going through Dharma Shastras. Achyutashraya, by depending on Krishna. So when these 3 things are taken shelter of, one will make a way through even confusing situations, which are not the regular lot. So I hope that answers your question, Saraswati. So
Yes,
so this premise that getting married early is preferable is a general statement.
Okay, Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Mataji. It was a very beautiful session. And I request everyone to please forward any of your questions that can be asked further, and please stay updated. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.